These people, these leftist media types who are calling this an insurrection and painting everyone on the right with the same brush as the few bad actors inside the Capitol that day, they're the same people that forgot in 2016 after Trump was elected all the violent protests that swept the country. Your thoughts?
Well, it'll be interesting tomorrow when Vice President Harris gives a speech on the January 6th Capitol riot, because she actually called for Americans to supply money to bail out some of the protesters arrested in the Floyd riots. So I don't think she's going to mention her posture back then, but it's obvious to anybody that the left doesn't want any kind of accountability for what they do, yet they demand that any mistake on the right, and certainly this was a huge mistake, invading the Capitol. And anybody who thinks it wasn't doesn't really understand life, doesn't understand the United States, because when you do something like that in support of Donald Trump, you hurt Donald Trump. And so you're hurting your guy. When you break into the Capitol, you're hurting your cause. And so I say, you know, what are you doing? You think this is going to turn out well? It's almost inconceivable that a rational person would go, yeah, I'm going to break into the Capitol, and that's going to help Donald Trump in any way. It hurt him, and it hurt the conservative cause.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting to in that monologue there, is that these people handed the script to the left, basically, being able, allowing them to paint everyone who supports Trump, or even the wider, even broader brush, everyone who's on the right is an insurrectionist.
Well, I'm going to be interested to analyze President Biden's speech tomorrow, because I know what he's going to do already. He's going to blame Trump for the whole thing, because the left fears the rise of Donald Trump. They don't want him to run for president again. He obviously does want to run and is positioning himself to do that. So they're going to use this occasion to demonize him. All the corporate media, except Fox News, will get on that train. And so we'll hear in 48 hours that it's all Trump's fault, Trump, Trump, Trump. And we won't hear things like, gee, Trump told O'Reilly on the tour that on the 5th of January, one day before, he requested, didn't order because he couldn't, according to the Constitution, 10,000 guard to go to Washington to protect the Capitol. We're not going to hear that from President Biden or Vice President Harris or from the corrupt corporate media. Won't hear any of that. So, but I think people know, they know now, Bolling, you're not going to get a fair cut if you watch the network or cable news operations.
What about this Jan 6 committee, Bill? I mean, they stacked it with Democrats, and they added 2 Republicans who can't stand Trump anyway, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Both of them are anti-Trumpers anyway. They wouldn't put Jim Jordan on. They wouldn't put anyone who actually represents not only Trump, but actually represents a conservative voice on the right. Yet somehow the American public is supposed to trust this committee. Why do we even give them any airtime or credence?
I had Kash Patel on the No Spin News last night. That's my television operation. You want it, you go to BillO'Reilly.com. So Kash Patel was in charge of the Pentagon, and he took President Trump's request, and he was ready, as was the defense secretary, to deploy the troops. So Patel was subpoenaed to come in front of the October 6th panel in the House of Representatives. And he brought in all the documentation of the request for the guard, okay, or the offer from President Trump and the Pentagon. They didn't ask him a question about it. They weren't interested in that at all. And he brought the documentation and gave it to them. So this is what's called a hanging jury. They're not interested in what happened. They want to hang Donald Trump. But again, I think every American,
not a hung jury, a hanging jury.
Yeah.
So Bill, before I'm going to run out of time with you, I just want to ask this. The news that broke overnight was that there's some indication that this Jan 6 committee is looking for Sean Hannity, a former colleague of both of ours, friend of mine, probably a friend of yours as well, wants him to testify or at least come and tell him what he knows about that day. You're Sean Hannity. If they ask Bill O'Reilly, what's your advice to Sean?
Well, I think he should resist it. I don't think they'll get him because, again, what good does it do Hannity or anybody else to go into the panel when all the panel's going to try to do is embarrass you? They're not going to listen to you, or they don't want to know what really happened. It's what they call, Bolling, a dog and pony show. All right? That's what it is. So why would any clear-thinking person want to do that? So I expect them to resist. The Fox News lawyers will throw up a bunch of barriers, and I don't think Hannity's got much to worry about.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there, Bill. Just to let our audience know, Bill is a man of his word. Remember, I said he was going to get me backstage at the big Bill and Trump tour, the history tour. I got backstage, had a great time. It was a great tour. Good bumping in both of you guys. Bill O'Reilly, thank you so much.